Can you see my phone? No.
It's the final meeting. I wanted to impress.
You can't fool us. Nice try.
Definitely wearing shorts, but that doesn't matter.
At least you have pants on.
Wasn't there a guy on CNN this morning where he had on the blazer and the shirt, but you could totally see he was just in his boxers? Love that.
It is 7 o'clock, but we can go ahead and give it another minute or so. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I now call this meeting to order, and before we move into business, I'm going to yield to Advisor Lozano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here this evening, Senators. Unfortunately, we are starting off our meeting on a bit of a sour note. It's my duty to inform you of the passing of our Aztec coordinator, Julian. Julian passed away this weekend after complications to a seizure. We don't know a whole lot more than that, but it's really devastating news for ASUW and Aztec. And I wanted to share just a couple of interesting things with you that I thought would be a good way to honor his memory. Julian actually started working in Aztec as a student on September 18th, 2013. So he has been in the ASUW umbrella for almost 7 years. He took the position as the assistant coordinator July 8th, 2015, and then was promoted to the coordinator position on November 1st of 2018. So a very long reach and a vast impact that Julian had on the students of ASUW and specifically the students of Aztec. He was a big fan of the show Metalocalypse, so I don't know if you have seen that show or not, but it's if you know Julian, it's a classic Julian thing to like. So we wanted to make sure that the Senate was informed and that we are currently in the works with his family to see if there's some way that we can honor his memory. So I'm sorry to start off the meeting with such terrible news, but it bears noting that Julian will be deeply missed, and he was a highly respected member of our community, specifically by his peers. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those at this time. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will now move on to our mission statement. And Senator St. Marie, please proceed.
The purpose of the Associate Students in the University of Wyoming is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible through accurate representation, professional interaction with campus programs and organizations, and responsible, effective leadership.
Thank you. And can you please call the roll?
Senator Alridgel.
Present.
Anselmi Smith.
Present.
Applegate. Brooks.
Present.
Brown. Doran.
Present.
Fitchy.
Here.
Halstead.
Present.
Heart Attack.
Present.
Hedge,
Here.
Hoffman,
Present.
Horton,
Present.
Milburn,
Present.
Mulhall,
Here.
Pearson, Rooney,
Here.
Romano,
Present.
St. Marie, present. Titus,
Here.
Trent,
Here.
Vetter,
Present.
Welsh,
Here.
Woodward, Chief of Staff Montes, Director of Finance Harold, Director of RSO Relations Good, Director of Marketing DeVault, Director of Governmental and Community Affairs Campbell, Director of Programming and Events Williams, Director of Wellness and Sustainability Savage, Chief of Legislative Affairs Hoversland,
Present.
President Wilkins,
Here.
Vice President Houghton,
Here.
Advisor Lozano,
Present.
Faculty Senate, First Year Senate,
Present.
Interfraternity Council, International Students Association, Non-Traditional Student Council,
Present.
College Panhellenic Council, Residence Halls, Staff Senate, Student Athlete Advisory Commission,
Present.
Sustainability Coalition, and United Multicultural Council.
Thank you. Last meeting's minutes have been electronically circulated. Are there any corrections or additions to last meeting's minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. And tonight's agenda has also been circulated. Are there any corrections or additions to tonight's agenda? Senator Welsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I move to move new business to after the special event.
Second.
If there are no objections, it will be added to the agenda.
Next, I would like to move to add end of year awards to new business.
Second.
If there are no objections, that will also be added to the agenda.
And finally, I would like to add Senate Resolution 2705 to new business.
Second.
Thank you. And if there are no objections, that will also be added to the agenda.
Thank you, and I just sent you Senate Resolution 2705. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Welsh. Any other corrections or additions to tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, the agenda as amended has been approved. With that, we will now move on to our open forum. Is there anyone in the gallery this evening that would like to address the Senate?
Mr. Vice President, could I please?
Yeah, VP Chestnut.
So I wasn't exactly sure the best moment, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to thank the 107th administration that your leadership and commitment has been deeply appreciated and recognized. And I'm not sure students always get to hear what is said about you, but good things far and wide. And so just wanted to take a moment to give my thanks and appreciation and look forward to working with the next group, but we'll certainly miss the strong group of leadership that was on this year. So just wanted to say thank you. Appreciate the moment.
Any other comments from anyone in the gallery? Okay. We do not have a special event this evening, so we'll move straight on into communications, beginning with President Wilkins.
Point of order. The agenda was changed to put new business to after the special event.
Oh, of course. Starting with, what was the first agenda item?
Approval of the rules and procedures for the Judicial Council.
Great. So this time I would entertain, or maybe first do we want to have the Chief Justice speak on the rules and procedures? Chief Justice Sanders?
Hi everyone, it's good to see all of you. I won't be here for my report since we edited the agenda, so I'll just give a brief thing here really quick if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to echo VP Chestnut and congratulate you all on finishing out this administration. It has certainly been an unprecedented year with the pandemic and all of that. And I think you have all done a very thorough job and an excellent job of handling that and kind of, doing everything on your toes. So I just want to congratulate you on that. I hope you all are proud of what you have accomplished this year. It's been a very successful Senate, I think, and I hope that you are able to take everything that you've gained from this experience to your future endeavors. In terms of the JC, I think we have done a great job of achieving the goals we outlined for ourselves. So we were working to increase consistency, efficiency, and transparency, and I'm very confident that we have achieved all of these. So as you have seen earlier this year, and as you will see later after I finish talking, I guess, we have heavily revised our rules and procedures. We've produced forms for appeals, requests for interpretations, complaints. We've also written a new script for ourselves to do our hearings, and we've also created new procedures for all of the requests, appeals, complaints, all of that we do. So we should be gaining some new members next year, which I am excited about and hope that we can continue improving our council. And I'm also happy that we will have several remain on the council. And so in terms of the rules and procedures, it's not nearly as in-depth of a revision that I presented in the fall. The main thing is that we added procedure for elections complaints appeals, as we found that we did not have anything specific in place this year. And so we added that in. It's very similar to a request for interpretation. That's how we ran it this spring, and we found that actually worked very well and is much more suited than a full appeal hearing. So that's what we added. Mostly a few minor language changes. One thing is we took out having to send forms, complaints, requests through the ACW secretary or relevant position, and just had them sent to the Chief Justice account since we have our own email account. So we're kind of taking out that middleman. And then the other bigger change is that we added in a contingency clause of sorts that gives the Chief Justice the power to edit the timeline for the deadline of making rulings or scheduling meetings in the case of something like a national pandemic. It will be the Chief Justice's discretion, and it will certainly be something I put in my transition document that this should not be invoked unless absolutely necessary. It's not really, we never really want to stray from our deadline. So that's one, and then the other one is that, let me check really quick. I think that's most of it. Oh, we decided to require a quorum of 4 justices for any of our appeal hearings, requests for interpretation, that sort, because we found that our rules and procedures actually didn't stop the Chief Justice, for example, from just making a unilateral decision on anything. So we decided to require a quorum, and so that will make sure that we have enough justices present to make an informed decision. So those are our main changes. I'm happy to take any questions about this or about the JC in general. So yeah, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I guess we can go ahead and open it up for discussion. I would entertain a motion to approve this proposed rules and procedures for the Judicial Council.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's been properly moved and seconded, so we're now on full discussion of this action item. If anyone has any more questions for the Chief Justice or any comments, points they'd like to make, go ahead and do those now. Okay. If not, we'll go ahead and take a vote. So all those in favor of confirming the proposed rules and procedures for the Judicial Council, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And abstentions? All right, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the rules and procedures are agreed to. Great. So next, you should have on your screen polls for our Standing Committee of the Year, Senator of the Year, and SAL of the Year. So this is our next action item on new business. So go ahead and fill those out.
Point of clarification, am I allowed to vote?
Everyone can vote.
Lovely, thank you.
I think we've got it.
Great. Everyone voted? Okay.
Will you yield, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for Standing Committee of the Year, Advocacy, Diversity, and Policy, won that nomination. Senator Mulhall won Senator of the Year. And then the Student at Large of the Year.
Awesome. So with that, we'll now move on to Senate Resolution 2705. Hold on one second. So I would entertain a motion to suspend Article 6, Section 6.01, subsections 2 through 4 of the ASUW Rules and Procedures for the remainder of this meeting.
Point of order, can we do the first reading first?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Senators, please proceed with the first reading of Senate Resolution 2705.
Before I begin, I would like to ask a quick question. I'll yield to anybody who can answer it. I am not sure how to pronounce Julian's last name, and I was wondering if somebody could clarify that. Okay, I'll get started.
It's Abbas.
Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible through accurate representation, professional interaction with campus programs and organizations. And whereas Julian Abbas has made such a profound impact at the University of Wyoming that his passing greatly affects students, staff, and faculty across campus. And whereas Julian worked with many students throughout his time with the Associated Students Technical Services, ASTEC, through numerous events, and many of them consider him as a friend and a mentor. And whereas his passion for his craft inspired those students and all who had the pleasure of working with him, and he always went above and beyond for his staff. And whereas Julian has played a key role in building the ASTEC program through the well-run, massively successful program that it is today. And whereas under Julian's leadership, ASTEC has grown exponentially to provide services to the students of the University of Wyoming. Therefore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government honors the memory of Julian Abbas and his legacy that he has left at the University of Wyoming. And therefore, be it further resolved that the ASUW student government urge the 108th administration of the ASUW student government to explore ways to further honor Julian's legacy and ensure that ASTEC be held to the same high standard that Julian has established.
Thank you, Senator. And because this piece of legislation was submitted today, and we didn't have time to put it through the committee process, we do have to put it through committee of the whole. And we will begin that now. So we entertain a motion to suspend Article 6, Section 6.01, subsections 2 through 4 of the ASUW Rules and Procedures for the remainder of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And abstentions. Motion carries. I would now entertain a motion to resolve into committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? And abstentions. And that motion carries. So with that, we are now in committee of the whole, and I will hand over the gavel, I guess, to Senator Mulhall.
Thank you. So we're now into committee of the whole, and I would entertain a motion to recommend a do pass on Senate Resolution 2705.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded, so we will now move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this legislation?
Senator Mulhall.
Senator Welsh?
Thank you. I would like to yield my time to Santosh Matianam.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator. Most of you might have worked with Julian before, but I wanted to make sure that everyone here knew what kind of a man he was. Julian Abis, what we like to call him Uncle Jules, was a great man. I had the honor of knowing him for a little over 2 years. First when he worked at one of my events, then when I was a senator and was a part of Aztec Ad Hoc, and then finally when he offered me a job at Aztec. Throughout the years, he always had students' best interest at heart. I've never met anyone else in my lifetime who was as invested as Julian was with his work. Whenever he did something, he put his heart and soul into it and made sure that it was nothing less than perfect. He motivated us to be the best employees that we could be, and that encouraged us to be the best version of ourselves. His work was a reflection of the kind of man he was. He was so much more than just a boss and manager. He was a mentor, friend, and family. He went above and beyond to help us with our professional and personal life. He made sure that all of us were treated fairly and had our best interest at his heart. He stayed longer than he had to at any work shift to make sure that we had everything that we needed. I've never met a better manager who was as selfless as he was. He always took care of us before he did of himself. Made sure that we got everything that we needed and that we were happy with what we did. He always made work more enjoyable to a point where it didn't feel like work. He treated us like we were his equals and co-workers and not as his employees. He did that for me through all of my hardships over the past few years and coached me to succeed in life. Without his guidance, I would have been a different. He encouraged us to be student leaders and ensure everything we were doing better as professionals. We at Aztec miss him a lot, and his loss will have a great impact on us. His legacy will be as a person who is proud of his work and as a selfless man. I only hope to live up to his legacy and continue it forward. Whenever someone asked him how he was doing, he just had one response: just another day in paradise. And now all I wish and hope that he is in paradise. Thank you, Socha, and thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, and thank you for those words. Are there any other comments on this legislation? Anyone else? If not, then we will go ahead and move to a voice vote. So all of those in favor of a do pass recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. And any abstentions? Okay, great. And with that, the ayes have it, and there's a do pass recommendation. So I would now entertain a motion to rise and report from committee of the whole.
So moved. Second.
And properly moved and seconded. It's a non-debatable motion, so those. And any abstentions? Okay, with that motion passes, then I will hand the metaphorical gavel back. Thank you.
Thank you. And Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible through accurate representation, professional interaction with campus programs and organizations, and therefore be resolved that the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government honors the memory of Julian Addis and his legacy that he has left at the University of Wyoming, and therefore be it further resolved that the ASUW student government urge 100.
Thank you. This bill is steered to Committee of the Whole. Senator Mulhall, what is your committee recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, could not get myself unmuted. The Committee of the Whole recommends a do pass recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2705?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We're now on discussion of the bill, and the floor is open.
I move for unanimous consent.
Second.
If there are no objections, this bill will be passed unanimously. Okay. All right. Seeing none, the bill passes unanimously. Okay. So with that, we are back on communications, and we can begin with President Wilkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everybody. So this is my final report as your ASUW president. I just want to say it has been a really great year. I'd like to echo everything that VP Chestnut said earlier. I know the last few weeks, and especially today, has been pretty difficult. But I appreciate you all for sticking through, going online, all those things, and just being dedicated students to the students of the university. It means a lot, not only to me, but to the staff that we have with us tonight, and the faculty and staff all over campus. Like I said last week, I really appreciate that we can tell people that we've been active and getting things done in the midst of all the chaos going on. So I really do appreciate that. In terms of stuff that I've been going through, work-wise, I had a meeting yesterday with some members of the Sustainability Coalition to discuss a budget plan that they had put together. Basically, what's going to have to happen is they're going to have to go to the IOC with the next administration in the summer to propose any realignment out of the current budget to create their own budget. So just kind of walk through that process, and I'll be sure to make sure that the next president is aware of that and can kind of help guide them as well. ASUW was also asked to present to the Joint Education Interim Committee this June. They will be taking up the interim topic of anti-hazing, as I discussed before. So Director Campbell and I are going to work on a white paper or executive summary that we can give to them, kind of explaining why hazing legislation, anti-hazing legislation is important, and kind of what we would like to see with it. And then we'll be doing that in partnership with IFC as well as CPH. Just want to thank the members of IFC and CPH specifically, Nevi Mead, Grace Borum, and Ian Hughes for working with us on that and making sure that gets to a higher level. Working on planning some transition meetings for the next leadership team, so that'll be with academic affairs, student affairs, and general counsel, just to kind of update them, so they can meet the new president, vice president, as well as make sure that the next president and VP feel supported going through and kind of understand that what's going to be on their plate going forward. Unfortunately, time doesn't wait for the next pres VP, but they're going to have a little bit of catch up, but I want to make sure that that's a smooth transition, since I won't be able to kind of help them actually physically, transition into office and stuff like that. The American Heritage Center is looking to document some student experiences through COVID-19 and everything going on. They started what they've called the COVID-19 Collection Project. So they have a blog feature. I'll go ahead and send that link out through an email later. But it's for students specifically who can add their experiences to what they've gone through during COVID-19 and have some documentation. So So feel free to add your own experiences. Make sure you can send that to your friends, stuff like that, just to kind of give people a look into history years from now when they look back at this and kind of see how we handled everything going on. I'm finishing up my transition document this week, so if you have any advice or things that I can add for the next president, that things like that, feel free to send those to me in an email or whatever, and I can be sure to add those in the document. And obviously, amidst everything going on, we also have our ACW election, so be sure that you're encouraging your constituents to vote. Share our stuff on Facebook, Instagram, all those things. Voting was open, I believe, until 4:30 tomorrow, so turnout's decent for an online election that we had no outreach in person for, but anything we can do to get more students voting is important. And that's all I have if we don't have any questions. Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all.
Thank you. And Chief of Legislative Affairs Holversland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to begin kind of in the same way. Thank you, everyone, for confirming me at the beginning of the year, and I've enjoyed being able to serve as your Chief of Legislative Affairs and working with all of you. Good luck in your future, and I hope to see many of you in the next administration, but to the seniors, good luck in your futures and your future endeavors. I want to thank you all for but y'all have been very responsive to that, so I really appreciate that. I've been working on my transition document as well. I don't have a whole lot to that right now, so I'm going to keep working on that and hopefully work with the next administration just to get them going smoothly, especially with their first meeting being a week from today, May 5th, so I'll work with them on that. As for checking out items, I don't know what we're going to do yet, so look for emails from the next administration, but I don't know about checking out items, so I apologize about that. The steering committee will be meeting on Friday just to go over and approve that list for senatorial scholarships. So if you do have an issue with that, definitely do let us know so that we can make those exceptions. I'll try and work on that this week before Friday so that if there are issues with the amount or something, if the amount or something is wrong, that I can bring that to the steering committee on Friday, and then you can get your money as soon as possible. And then the scholarships were awarded for the leadership scholarship. They met on Thursday, and thank you to graduate assistant Weeby for working quickly yesterday. She got all of those awarded through WILD scholarships. Those should be going for the fall of 2020 for the high school students and current UW students. Lastly, I would just echo the president once again, asking you to vote and share all of that on social media. We're trying to get that targeted to students and all of that, but with your help, that would be great. And lastly, as you may have seen earlier today, I emailed you out the letters from President Wilkins about the winners of the Axelson Awards. So congrats to those winners who are Senator Welsh, Senator Mulhall, Chief Justice Sanders, and then the UMC co-chairs, Katie Tay and Carlos Gonzalez. If there are any questions, anybody? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So for my report, only one thing, and then I'll echo the comments of everyone else. But we've only gotten a few of the transition documents from committee chairs. So if you haven't gotten those in yet, please be sure to do so. Just something to help the next chair of that committee get started as they're trying to find their footing in the 108th administration. But also been working on this transition. The inauguration and the beginning of the 108th is just a week away. So working on our transition docs, making sure the next team is ready to go right from the beginning. And so we're looking forward to that. I also want to congratulate Ann Alexander, who couldn't be here today, but was the recipient of our Distinguished Service Award at ASUW. And we're really grateful for all of her cooperation with ASUW this year. But I also want to thank VP Chestnut, not only for being here, but for working so closely with us this year, and all of the support that she provided us throughout the administration was really awesome. So we're grateful for both of you. And then I would echo again, vote. I'm sure you all have voted, but if you haven't, please go ahead and do that right now. Tell everyone you know who goes to UW to vote, because we really want to make sure that regardless of being on campus or not, want to make sure that our numbers stay consistent with what they've been in previous years. With that, I'm so grateful to have been in this role over the last year. Really appreciate the chance to have been working with all of you. Looking forward to next year and the 108th administration. With that, we'll now move on to Advisor Lozano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lots of echoing to do. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to the student body and the University of Wyoming this year. Nobody could have ever predicted the things that you would have encountered this year, and you have handled them all with grace and care. And it's admirable the way that you have ended this administration under such extraordinary circumstances. I think that the resolution that you passed this evening is a great reminder of how important the work that you do truly is. And I wanted to extend my thanks to Student at Large Matianum and the students of Aztec and Senator Welsh for working on that resolution. It's just impressive how quickly ASUW students can react to tough times. And I think that you should always be proud of the work that you've done here. And I just wanted to extend my thanks. Some of you have been here with me since day one. On day one, I walked into the ASUW office and broke then VP Welsh's tea cart. And so with her exit, at least some blackmail leaves with her. But it's been a wonderful ride with this administration, and I'm always proud to be a part of it. So I thank you all. And then just to echo, as of the start of this meeting, we had 709 folks that had participated in the election so far. This is the third election I've been a part of. The first election, we had 1,100 voters. So it'd be really cool if we could catch 1,100 while running everything virtually. So with that, I did want to yield some of my time to Accountant Schaaf, as I know she had some things to share with you.
Thank you, Advisor Lozano. I'm also going to do a little bit of echoing, but I just wanted to take a minute to let you all know that this administration will always hold a special place in my heart. You're the first one that I got to experience from beginning to end, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate all of you, the leadership you've displayed this year, as well as your ability to challenge those around you, to think, to widen their horizons. You've inspired me daily, and I really appreciate that. You should all be very proud. Stay in touch, seniors. I'm going to miss you. I look forward to seeing you all go on to achieve the great things that I know you will. And I hope, if you're not a senior, that we get to see you again next year. Thank you, Advisor Lozano.
Thank you, Accountant Schaaf. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And with that, Chief Sanders did leave, so we can move on to ex officio reports, beginning with First Year Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The First Year Senate met earlier today for the last time, where we had debate on 9 pieces of legislation, obviously the 5 that the full Senate is discussing, and then also 4 pieces that we discussed alone, and all were approved, so there are some changes to the First Year Senate, and we also went through our awards. We selected our Committee of the Year, the Best Debater of the Year, the Best for Student Outreach and Service, and our First Year Senator of the Year as well. And it was a great experience working with the First Year Senate, and it's over now, and I think we did some great work. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. With that, we'll now move on to the Non-Traditional Student Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say congratulations to the 107th administration, and just on behalf of the Non-Traditional Student Council, thank you for supporting us throughout the year and helping us to grow. I know we're still on the trajectory up, but it's with your support that we are, gaining members and knowledge around campus that we are such a thing, and that non-traditional students are a big part of our campus. So we just wanted to thank all of you for your hard work and support this year, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met last week and we discussed how we're going to do our Westby's Awards, and we're going to try and do a little Instagram campaign on the YL Athletics page. And then also on the YL Athletics Instagram page, we put up a video today thanking all the essential workers in our communities. So that's what we talked about last time. We have not talked about elections, so I genuinely don't know if I'll be back next year or not. I have learned a lot through this experience, so thanks, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And on that note, I do want to thank all of our ex officios who are here throughout the year. All of you put in a lot of extra work outside of your regular work in class, and we do appreciate the extra time you took to be with us and talk about your programs and the new developments going on with those. So we do appreciate it. And with that, we'll now move on to committee reports, starting with steering. Steering did meet this Friday, and as the Chief of Legislative Affairs said, we will be meeting again this upcoming Friday. But this past Friday, we talked about our end of the year awards, and we also came to our decision on the Distinguished Service Award. But yeah, looking forward to our final meeting this upcoming Friday. Advocacy, Diversity, and Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We didn't meet just to give senators a break. I know it's been pretty busy, but I just want to thank you all for selecting AD&P as Committee of the Year. I think it's representative of the work we've done this year and having our first Asian American president during this administration. And I just think it speaks volumes for what this administration has stood for, and I'm just excited to see what more we can do regarding diversity measures. So thank you.
Thank you. And Budget and Planning. Senator Hoffman.
Yeah, sorry, my computer. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did meet on Wednesday to discuss 5 pieces of legislation and give a recommendation for those. We will not meet this Wednesday, and I just wanted to thank everybody in Budget and Planning for always showing up to the meetings and making quorum, even though we were all online. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Program and Institutional Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Program and Institutional Development met yesterday and discussed the legislation we were steered. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. RSO Funding Board.
Mr. Chair, RSO Funding Board also met yesterday and discussed the legislation we were steered, so we'll find out about that later. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Student Outreach and Programming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we met Friday and we discussed the legislation and came up with recommendations on them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Elections Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to start by saying thank you to the Elections Committee. You guys put up with some weird stuff that I threw at you with random meetings a couple hours before on more than one occasion, so thank you all for your help. It's been great. I also want to give a huge thank you to President Wilkins, Advisor Lozano, Accountant Schaaf, and Director of Marketing DeVault. Without them, we would not have had an election. We relied on them pretty heavily. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Elections Commissioner Porterfield for all of his work. And kind of like has been said a number of times tonight, please vote. Please get your friends to vote. Please email people in your RSOs to vote. Any way you can, it will be greatly appreciated. We always want an election that's representative of our student body. So please, please, please outreach to voters. Help us get voter outreach. And if you have not voted, please vote right now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we'll now move on to college contact reports, beginning with agriculture and natural resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Thank you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
College of Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No report.
All right. And College of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Engineering and Applied Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Health Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
College of Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
And finally, School of Energy Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Thank you. So with that, we'll now move on to old business, beginning with Senate Bill 2700, revision of outside funding requirements for RSO competitions. Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible, and therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government, that the ASUW finance policy be amended to reflect the changes in Addendum A, and therefore be it further enacted that these changes take effect at the beginning of the 108th administration of the ASUW student government.
Thank you. This bill is steered to RSO Funding Board. Can we please have your committee recommendation of a do or do not pass? Senator Mulhall.
Thank you. RSO Funding Board recommends a do pass.
Thank you. This bill is also steered to Budget and Planning. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget and Planning recommends a do pass.
And this bill was also steered to Student Outreach and Programming. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SOF recommends a do pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2700?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Discussion is now open on Senate Bill 2700. Anyone want to take the floor?
Mr. Chair, can I? Sorry, I can't find the button.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just found the button as you said that. Thank you. I'll have it ready for next time. I just wanted to provide some context. The 4 pieces of legislation that have me as author were products of working with the RSO Funding Board and kind of what we saw throughout the year as potential areas in need of change. So on this specific legislation, we did encounter, as you all saw in a couple Senate meetings, RSOs who were not capable of meeting the outside funding requirement this year, just as departmental funds were lower or spread, more thinly across the department or whatever it might be. And that also brought up the point that sometimes the economic situation of the university and different departments affects their ability to fund on a year-to-year basis. So we went ahead and just lowered the outside funding requirement to 10% to ease the burden on the RSOs, and then we also made it so, which one is this?
Point of clarification.
We changed the outside funding. This is okay, I won't talk on the next one, I promise. We did it all in one shot. But we changed the outside funding on the competitions, partly for similar reasons as the other outside funding change, but we took out the outside funding requirement for competitions completely. Because one, we aren't seeing a ton of applications for competitions yet. We're kind of waiting for word to spread on that a little bit better, and we also think that having no outside funding requirement will increase RSO's willingness to kind of want to use those funds. So we're hoping that generates more use of those funds and just more access to different RSOs to compete in competition. So sorry about the rant on the other one, but I'm happy to answer any questions as needed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator St. Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add a little bit to what Senator Mulhall said. In addition, the outside funding of being $2,000, most of the RSOs who are applying for this competition funding have already spent, let's see, the College of Engineering, most of them are spending over $10,000 on their competition anyways, not including funds for travel and whatnot, just on their projects in general. So it seemed kind of redundant to ask them for outside funding from us, as well as putting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into their own projects that in the long run will benefit the university. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this bill? Okay. If there are no objections, we will dispense with the third reading. And Senator St. Marie, will you please call the roll?
Senator Al-Rajal?
Aye.
Anselmi-Stitt?
Aye.
Brooks?
Aye.
Doran?
Aye.
Fitchie?
Aye.
Halsted?
Aye.
Hardtack?
Aye.
Hedge? Hoffman?
Aye.
Horton?
Aye.
Milburn?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Rooney?
Aye.
Urbano?
Aye.
St. Marie, aye. Titus?
Aye.
Trent?
Aye.
Vetter?
Aye.
Welsh?
Aye.
And first year Senate?
Aye.
Okay, with a vote of 20-0, Senate Bill 2700 has passed. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 2701, revision of outside funding requirements for RSO events. Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible, and therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government, that the ASUW finance policy be amended to reflect the changes in Amendment A, and therefore be it further enacted that these changes take effect at the beginning of the 108th administration of the ASUW student government.
Thank you. This bill was steered to Funding Board. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Mulhall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. RSO Funding Board recommends a do pass.
Thank you. This bill was also steered to Budget and Planning. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget and Planning recommends a do pass.
Thank you. And this bill was also steered to Student Outreach and Programming. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SOP recommends a do pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2701?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We are now on discussion of Senate Bill 2701, and the floor is open. Okay, if there's, Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I promised I wouldn't talk. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that we added the exception clause in this for the outside funding just to better enable future administrations to have some more flexibility when it comes to outside funding and just whatever the economic situation of things might be at the time. Maybe that's next year, maybe that's some other year, who knows, but we thought that would be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion on 2701? If not, if there are no objections, we'll dispense with the third reading. And Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with a roll call vote?
Senator Alderjohl?
Aye.
Anselmi Stitt?
Aye.
Brooks?
Aye.
Doran?
Aye.
Fitchy?
Aye.
Halstead?
Aye.
Hardtack?
Aye.
Hedge?
Aye.
Hoffman?
Aye.
Horton?
Aye.
Milburn?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Rooney?
Aye.
Urbano?
Aye.
St. Marie, aye. Titus?
Aye.
Trent?
Aye.
Vetter?
Aye.
Welsh?
Aye.
Woodward? Oh, my bad. First year Senate?
Aye.
Okay, with a vote of 20-0, Senate Bill 2701 has passed. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 2702, revisions to sanctions for RSOs in violation of the ASUW finance policy. Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible, and therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government, that the ASUW finance policy be amended to reflect the changes in Amendment A, and therefore be further enacted that these changes take effect at the beginning of the 108th administration of the ACW student government.
Thank you. This bill was steered to Funding Board. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Mulhall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Funding Board recommends a do pass.
Senator Mulhall?
Sorry, did it not work? Can you hear me?
You're good now.
Okay. Thank you. Also, Funding Board recommends a do pass.
Okay. This bill was also steered to Budget and Planning. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget and Planning recommends a do pass.
And this bill was also steered to Student Outreach and Programming. Can you please have your committee recommendation, Senator Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SOP recommends a do pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2702?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We're now on discussion of 2702. If there's any discussion, the floor is open. Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I move to amend Article 4, Section 4.01 in the addendum. There's just one instance of probation that should be advisory term in 4.01, subsection 4, where it say it may be placed on probation or suspended. It should say it may be placed on an advisory term. Make that motion.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We're now on discussion of the amendment. Senator Mulhall, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. So all those in favor of the amendment that was just proposed, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? And abstentions. The motion carries. We're now back on discussion of 2702. Senator Mulhall, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, the bill pretty much lays it out, but Funding Board felt that advisory term was a better phrasing for what probation is meant to be, or what it was originally meant to be when it was written up as probation. And we found that a lot of RSOs this year were kind of shirking away from the idea of Funding Board and just probation, because that sounds so punitive and scary and like they're going to be in trouble, like really bad or something. But in all actuality, we designed probation to hopefully educate them, work towards some student development, and better enable students and RSOs to access Funding Board in the future. So that's what we hope this change will kind of convey to students. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this bill? Okay. Seeing none, if there are no objections, we will proceed, if there are no objections, we will dispense with the third reading. And Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the roll call vote?
Senator Alrajal?
Aye.
Consolmi Stith?
Aye.
Brooks?
Aye.
Doran?
Aye.
Fitchy?
Aye.
Halsted?
Aye.
Hartek?
Aye.
Hedge?
Aye.
Hoffman? Horton?
Aye.
Milburn?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Rooney?
Aye.
Rubano?
Aye.
St. Marie? Aye. Titus?
Aye.
Trent?
Aye.
Vetter?
Aye.
Welsh,
Aye.
and first year Senate.
Aye.
Thank you. With a vote of 20 to 0, Senate Bill 2702 has passed. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 2703, clarifications of the ASUW finance policy. Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible, and therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government of the ASUW finance policy be amended to reflect the changes in Addendum A, and therefore be it further enacted that these changes take effect at the beginning of the 108th administration of the ASUW student government.
Thank you. This bill is steered to funding board. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Mulhall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Funding Board recommends a do pass.
This bill was also steered to budget and planning. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget and Planning recommends a do pass.
Thank you. And this bill was also steered to student outreach and programming. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SOP recommends a do pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2673? Or 2703?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Discussion is now open on Senate Bill 2703. And Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mostly on this one, I wanted to clarify the reasoning behind taking out the language about recycling at ASUW funded events, because I know that probably seems very counterintuitive to what we've been doing in terms of sustainability this year. But really, we were not trying to take a step back in any way. What the situation is that right now, that portion of the finance policy is not enforced by funding board. It's really would be hard to enforce it in the way that it is written. And what we would rather do is, and unfortunately we didn't have time to do so this year, but what we're going to do is leave remarks, heavy remarks in the transition document, urging the next administration to work with the Sustainability Coalition to come up with a new and revised sustainability requirement or encouragement in the finance policy for ASUW funded events. We didn't think that we could adequately cover the topic in the time we were given and without the help of some other folks who know what they're doing in this area. So that's the reasoning behind taking out that language. The intent is not to lose any efforts of sustainability, but hopefully to just make them better going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion on Senate Bill 2703? Okay, seeing none, if there are no objections, we will dispense with the third reading. And Senator St. Marie, will you please call the roll?
Senator Alderjaw,
Aye.
Gonsalves-Stiff,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Doran,
Aye.
Fitchie,
Aye.
Halsted,
Aye.
Haratek,
Aye.
Hedge,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Horton,
Aye.
Rubano,
Aye.
St. Marie, aye. Titus,
Aye.
Trent,
Aye.
Vetter,
Aye.
Welsh,
Aye.
and first year Senate.
Aye. Did it not go through? Aye.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed that. This Modesto Wi-Fi is something to be desired, truly. With that, Senate Bill 2703 passes by a vote of 20 to 0, and we will now move on to our final piece of legislation in the 107th administration, which is Senate Bill 2704, revisions to the ASUW finance policy. Senator St. Marie, will you please proceed with the second reading?
Whereas it is the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming ASUW student government to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible through accurate representation and responsible, effective leadership. And therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, AACW Student Government, that the AACW finance policy be amended to reflect the changes in Addendum A. And therefore be it further enacted that the changes in Addendum A shall go into effect immediately upon passage. And therefore be it further enacted by the AACW Student Government that the AACW finance policy changes in Addendum B take effect August 1st, 2020.
This bill was steered to Budget and Planning. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Hoffman?
Budget and Planning recommends a due pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. This bill was also steered to Program and Institutional Development. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Welsh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Program and Institutional Development recommends a due pass with amendments.
Thank you. And finally, this bill was steered to RSO Funding Board. Can we please have your committee recommendation, Senator Mulhall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. RSO Funding Board recommends a due pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to pass Senate Bill 2704?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Must have missed that. I didn't hear any seconds. We are now in discussion of Senate Bill 2704. Senator Welsh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So PID has a few amendments. So first, just a friendly amendment in Addendum A, Article 2, Section 2.03, subsection 3. Add the word in, so that phrase would read, within 24 hours of the committee meeting in which the realignment took place.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. We're now in discussion of the amendment. Senator Welsh, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, that was a friendly amendment.
Oh, that was a friendly. Didn't catch that either. Yeah, I will take it as a friendly.
Thank you. The second friendly amendment is to change the font of the table in Article 4 to Times New Roman, just to match the rest of the document.
I will also take that as a friendly.
Okay, and next, so I move in both addendums A and B. So in Addendum A, Article 10, Section 10.02, subsection 4, and in Article B, or Addendum B, Article 14, Section 14.01, subsection 9, to change every fiscal year to every even fiscal year.
And was that a friendly, or are you moving that?
I'm moving that.
Okay.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. We're now in discussion of that amendment. Senator Welsh.
Thank you. So PID talked about how the reserve is something that is supposed to be very consistent and used when necessary when unforeseen expenses occur. So if this floor and ceiling number is fluctuating every year, depending on whatever's rolling into the reserve based on university financial conditions or enrollment at the current time, it defeats the purpose of having that reserve. So while we do agree that these numbers should be revisited more frequently, the jump from 3 years to 1 year is significant. And then we proposed every even fiscal year because this just provides clarity on the time frame and is easily enforceable. So you don't have to remember like when 3 years ago was to revisit the floor and ceiling levels. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Order. Senator Vetter, is your hand up to talk on? Okay. Senator Vetter raised his hand.
Oh, Senator Vetter. Does some people's raise hand button not work?
I raised my hand. I was a little late, I will admit. My apologies.
Okay. I'm just not paying attention. Wonderful. Senator Vetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say just a couple things really quickly to just kind of reflect the thinking of BNP on this. kind of our two main trains of thought for this. One is that by setting an annual review period, this allows senators who are potentially, it's their first year on budget and planning, to have a little more experience working closely with our accountant and just have a little experience of how the endowment process works, kind of the nitty-gritty of the accounts that ASUW holds, because those are fairly complicated, and this is my second year on the committee and I'm still learning things about how the account side of ASUW works. And then secondly, the idea with changing this is not that we actually change those numbers every year, but just to give us the flexibility to change them if we want to. If we change it to every even year, then we are essentially stuck in changing those. And so, if something happens right after we make a decision, then we have to wait 2 more years according to our own finance policy before we can change those again. So I will be voting against this amendment. I think that it's better that we keep it at every year, but I just wanted to share a little bit more about why Budget and Planning decided to write it the way that we did. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any more discussion on this amendment? All right, seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
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 Anyone want to call for division?
Division.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote because we can't really do a standing vote. Senator St. Marie, could you take the roll on this amendment vote?
I need 3.
You do the raise hand option maybe and just count hands.
Okay.
Yeah, we could try that. Oh, okay.
Senator Alderjall,
Point of clarification, just so everyone knows, this is on the amendment to change going to fiscal, reevaluating floor and ceiling every even fiscal year. Just so people know that that's what this roll call vote, it's for the amendment, not the bill as a whole.
Senator Alderjall, Senator Alderjall, Anselmi Stith,
Nay.
Brooks,
Aye.
Ryan,
Nay.
Fitchy,
Nay.
Halsted,
Nay.
Hardtech,
Nay.
Hedge. Senator Hedge, could you repeat your vote?
Sorry, nay.
Hoffman,
Nay.
Horton,
No.
Milburn,
Nay.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Rubano,
Aye.
St. Marie, aye. Titus,
Aye.
Trent,
Nay.
Vetter,
Nay.
Welsh,
Aye.
and first year Senate.
Aye.
The vote is 8 to 11 to 1.
You're muted.
I am muted. Thank you, Hunter. With a vote of 8 to 11 to 1, that amendment is defeated. And when we do voice votes, please make sure to speak up because it sounded at first like when we did the voice vote, it sounded like there were only 2 nays, and then now the nays won. So try to be more clear with your voice votes when we're voting on amendments. With that, we're now back on discussion of the bill as a whole, and Senator Welch, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our final amendment is in Addendum B, Article 15, Section 15.03, subsection B. And we move to strike the $3,499 and change that number to $999, and then strike $3,500 and return that number to $1,000. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. We're now on discussion of the amendment. Senator Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when contingency allocations come to Senate, it provides oversight from more elected members than just budget and planning. It's something that does not take a lot of time to do. And additionally, the contingency that this is referencing is the legislative contingency. And historically, this contingency has only been $5,000 in itself. So that 3,500 mark is well over half of that entire contingency that would be allocated potentially without full Senate approval. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on this amendment? Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just echo what the previous senator said, and then add to that I know that the number being used for the change, the 3,499 was used to kind of create some consistency with where that's used elsewhere as it pertains to RSO funding board funding. But again, like the previous senator said, the funding pools that we're looking at are very different. Funding board has $150,000, so $3,500 is pretty minuscule in comparison. But with contingency funds, that's usually not the case. They're not ever as close to as big as the funding board pool. So I just don't see that being applicable here, and I am just in favor of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Vetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would, and maybe this is just clarification on my end, but the way that I am reading it, this legislation would actually change the contingency fund for any ASUW program, service, or strategic partner, not just the legislative contingency fund. So for what it's worth, this is far more broadly sweeping than just the legislative branch in the way that I'm reading it, and I could be reading it incorrectly, but I just wanted to make sure that the Senate was aware of that before voting on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Welch.
Point of order. Is there anybody else on the first speaking list on this amendment?
Is there anyone else on the first speaking list before we move to the second? Okay, Senator Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just speaking to a previous senator's points, when I asked for clarification on this particular change, I was told that it was in reference to the legislative contingency, but broadly, all of our contingencies, at least this year and historically, are only $5,000, the three that I believe we have. So no matter what, it still applies. We would still be allowing budget and planning to potentially allocate over half of any of those contingencies without the full Senate approval. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that I think it's really important. I think this decision is really important because it's a decision that's going to affect the transparency of how we utilize our funds, and one of the significant ways in which ASUW and the Senate in particular designates funds. As far as and sort of move it over into just completely B&P's realm, I'm afraid would just kind of make us lose a sense of transparency, which negatively impacts just a lot of other things. in addition to the image of ASUW, which can basically always use a little help. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. If there are no more comments on this amendment, we'll go ahead and take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? And abstentions. Okay, motion carries. We're back on discussion of the bill as a whole, and Senator Welch, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any more discussion on 2704? Right. If there are no objections, we'll dispense with the third reading. And Senator St. Marie, will you please call the roll?
Senator Oladrell? Anselmi Stiff?
Aye.
Brooks?
Aye.
Doran?
Aye.
Fitchy?
Aye.
Halsted?
Aye.
Haratek?
Aye.
Hedge? Hoffman?
Aye.
Horton?
Aye.
Milburn?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Rooney?
Aye.
Urbano?
Aye.
St. Marie? Aye. Titus?
Aye.
Trent?
Aye.
Vetter?
Aye.
Welsh?
Aye.
And first year Senate?
Aye.
Okay. With a vote of 19 to 0, Senate Bill 2704 has passed. And that brings us to the end of our legislation and the end of new business. So we'll now move on to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements this evening? Senator St. Marie.
I know it's been touched on a few times tonight, but please vote. Please get your friends to vote. Vote, vote, vote. Please vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no more announcements, we'll move on to processing. Any comments under processing today? First year Senator Swilling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a basic question, but do we have a meeting tomorrow or is it the week? I mean, not tomorrow. Do we have a meeting next week or is it the week after that?
For the Senate?
next?
For the next administration is next week, a week from today.
A week from today, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mm-hmm. Any more comments under processing?
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Advisor Lozano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the spirit of processing, I just wanted to point out how much you all have improved at Robert's Rules of Order. If you think back to your first meeting, it had some hiccups and bumps, and we always have those, but now you're running like a smooth machine on a Zoom call, so I think that's pretty impressive. Also, I think this is unprecedented, but at the bang of the gavel, 4 former vice presidents and 2 former presidents will walk out the door. I think that's just goes to show how dedicated a lot of our students are, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you back next year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Chief of Legislative Affairs Holdersland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to once again thank everyone for all their work on this administration and commend you for working through this unprecedented time. And I once again want to hope and just wish everyone well in their future endeavors and hope again to see everyone in the next administration doing work for students again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just add, of course, again, a big thank you. I know this change to online hasn't been easy since spring break, but I appreciate you all still showing up and doing work on behalf of your constituents and all of the students at UW. I know they appreciate it greatly. Also, apologies for the connectivity issues, though we have it all here in Modesto. That is the one thing we lack. Can't be perfect, I guess. But with that, if there are no more comments under processing, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.